Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. We are going to do something a little different. I'd mentioned I wouldn't be back on screen until tomorrow. Well, I found a little pocket of time to get back today, so we're going to check something out. And I did a little quick search in YouTube for 2024, New Year's, all sorts of stuff, and you get a lot of mixtapes, a lot of lo-fi beats to bring in the new year to. Well, I found a track called January. It was the first one I found for this month, though I did find afterwards there are quite a few people who have created tracks called January. This one, however, comes at us from Millie Turner. They only have 10,000 subscribers, though they do have 80,000 monthly listens on Spotify, so they're a smaller artist, but not super small. Funny enough, this track is their most listened to track on Spotify. So we're going to highlight a smaller artist, dig into some new music, and maybe find something interesting along the way. Let's see what Millie Turner is bringing to the table with January. I really like the transition between her vocal timbre and the sax. Same general range, same type of softness, but she has more of this airiness to it, and the sax comes in with this bright, a little bit more power, and it's a really nice pass off between the two of them. Really cool thing about that chorus is the rhythmic juxtaposition. I'll try to point it out next time, but she alternates between bouncier, faster rhythms and more held out ideas. Here we go, listen. Little bounciness, and then this time longer held out legato ideas and back to the bounciness. Yeah, just really nice juxtaposition, keeping some nice contrast on the melodic side of things here in the chorus. Yeah, just some really heavy vocal layers there for our bridge. Little chill vocalizations here. Stripped back chorus.
Like it's 1995, take me to January. Wanna be renewed, wanna break the feud. Take me to January. You know the only one I want is you.
Yeah, I dig that. There's a lot of clever little things in there. It retains a very similar vibe throughout. It's very chill, very laid back, very ethereal. One thing that I think I really want to point out here as an adjective is it's chill, it's laid back, but it's also not heavy. Think about that from like the angle of gravity, right? It's not weightlessness, but it's a lightness. It's a I don't necessarily want to say bouncy because I don't think the song has a bounciness to it. It isn't like swing or anything that's, really derived. Swing is just what I think of when I think of even like electro swing, very modern swing stuff. It's just swing is the bouncy genre to me. But anyways, getting off track there. Bringing in the bringing in the new year with some good old fashioned rambling. Getting off topic. It's just not heavy. It's not weighty, but it's not weightless either. There is a gravity to it. It's just light. I dig that. It's not just laid back, but it's light. But emotionally, it's bittersweet. I'm having a tough time really pinning down what's going on here. There is a positivity to it all, a want to move forward. In fact, the chorus repeats over and over, take me to January. Bring me to the next year. Get me out of where I am now. You would think that this would be positive. This is a want. But it sort of doesn't feel that way. Musically, there is a slight bit of melancholy to it all, and the general haziness of the song and the emptiness in several places and the stripped back chorus at the end show reluctance as well. There is a vulnerability to this song that isn't just a joyous need to move forward. There's elements where I feel like there's still one foot left in the past. And so it's just a really nice combination of all of these concepts. There's a laid back chill, there's a drive to push forward, there's a reluctance to do so, and possibly an undescribed want to stay in the past, for time to move forward, but to stay stationary as well. I totally get that. New Year's are full of opportunity, but it's also a remembrance that time has passed. We've made another rotation around the sun. You can't go back to it. Time stops for no one. And so there's things that get left behind in our pursuit to push forward. And I feel like that's very accurately captured in the general vibes of this track. Now, there's something else going on here as well. And I mentioned it a little bit. I think I talked about it too much during the reaction itself. I should have held off a little bit, but it's the back and forth of the sax and the vocals. I kind of wish we had more of this. I kind of wish we had a little bit of a sax moment before our second verse as a little interlude between our first chorus and our second verse. I kind of wish I'd come back a little bit in the bridge. Most of these times we either just pushed forward and had no interlude at all, and other times we used vocalization. The sax did come back one time toward the end of the bridge, but it was kind of pushed to the background and also did harmony against the vocal line, which was a nice touch as well. The first time we hear them, they're alternating. The second time we hear them, they're in line with each other. Maybe there's something to read into that, but I think I'd have to get into the lyrics before I could take any accurate stab at what that might mean. From an auditory angle, though, I really enjoy this. As I mentioned, they're both in the same range. They both have a little bit of an airiness to them, but the sax has this brighter, slightly meatier and fuller tone to it. Whereas after that, we pass it off to the vocals, and they are fairly ethereal, very breathy and airy, but still having a bit of that lightness to it. It's just a really nice back and forth. The timbres complement each other so well, and that's, I think, is really why I kind of wish we had heard more of that, because they are exceptionally complementary. And it kind of it was kind of a disappointment to me to start off the song with such a great moment and then never to really revisit it much, which gave me a bit of a longing for the past, I suppose. I wanted to go back to that intro and I couldn't. Maybe that's thematically resonant. Um, Another really great juxtaposition, as I pointed out, was the chorus. Changing up the rhythm of the chorus, moving from a bouncy ba 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 da ba 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 da, and then moving to something a bit more elongated and holding out notes, putting less syllables in the same amount of time. It creates this nice push and pull between rushing forward and being a bit more lethargic and laid back, sitting in a slower movement. And this push and pull between speed, rapidity, pushing towards the next bar and sort of hanging on to what's currently going on, once again just lines up so well with what the song is doing harmonically as well. I'm going to be very surprised if these themes do not show up in the lyrics, because they are absolutely present in the music. I think that's going to wrap up my little analytical portion here. No, I do want to talk about this real quick, and it sort of carries on from the harmonic elements, the vibe and the mood of the track, but it's our outro. Just from a completely disjointed, uh, in a vacuum kind of idea, I really love the sheer change up here, the contrast. One of my big things is that a final chorus, especially if it's the third one in a track, or fourth or fifth. If I've heard the chorus a few times now, change it up, please. And that's certainly what happens here. The bridge introduces these heavily layered vocal primary sections. We have a little bit of the beat behind it, we have a little bit of instruments. By the end of the bridge, I think it is just the vocal layers. It is noisy and reverberant, and the vocals are all overlapping each other. It kind of feels like being at a New Year's party if everyone was you. And then the music, what little comes back fades away completely, as do the extra voices, and we have just a singular vocal line, and it feels isolating. I'm not quite sure what to read into this yet. From the limited elements, or the limited storytelling I'm getting from the music, it's could be read that the step into the future wasn't quite what they wanted. There is some lines in the track. All I think it's the final line of the chorus is "All I want is you." Maybe there's a past relationship there. Maybe it's just the longing. I didn't have you this year. Take me to January. I can try again, kind of vibe. Regardless, this is the present. This is the now. This is the end of the song. Maybe we're in January now. I'm still alone. The future wasn't all it was cracked up to be. That kind of thing is what I get out of the ending here. It gets rid of all the atmosphere, the emotions, the storytelling, and it kind of strips it down to the reality of the situation, is what it feels like to me. It's underwhelming, kind of feels disappointing, at least from the vocalist's perspective. And I think that's what it's supposed to be about. But as usual, I'm going to take a moment here to hit the lyrics, and we'll see what's going on there and try to tie it into some of the things that I was picking up in the music. Alright, so I think I got most of this right. At least, well, let me rephrase that. I think what I took out of the music was accurate up until the ending. I don't like to phrase that as that I was correct in my read. The information is there. It's more that this song is as comprehensive as I am led to believe it is. That's that's more of how that should be read. Um, so we have these repeated lines throughout the verses. Oh, don't you need me? Oh, can't you hear me? Oh, can't you see me? I'm existing around you. I'm sort of obsessed with you. Um, as the chorus says, you know the only one I want is you. But they don't feel seen or heard or acknowledged by this other person. It's an unrequited love scenario. It says another year of insanity and spilt milk tears, and all the while the months grow cold and the records play. You give me hope, then you let me go out in the dark, and every time I close my eyes, you're so far away. It almost feels as if there's a will they, won't they relationship going on here, or maybe this other person just isn't acknowledging them or isn't, uh, there could be a little bit of toxicity to it. Every time that you give me hope, you let me go, but it could also be that they're just oblivious to the way our narrator feels as well. Regardless, our narrator feels a bit strung along, but they won't give up because, the unrequited love thing. All of this takes us to the chorus. Take me to January. I want to be renewed. I want to break the view. I want to touch the sky and I want to feel alive. I want you. I really like that part about being renewed, as if the change of the year is going to make you different, better. It's going to pull you out of a funk, possibly. The idea of being renewed, of being cleaned up. The year doesn't do that, but I like how it feels like it can. It has that possibility, and they're really tapping into that. The new year can present a new you. All of this, I think, comes to a head in the bridge, and this is the interesting part. It says it's the end of the year. We're standing on the tube, dancing to music. Everyone's doing it. Under the newspapers, staring at our phones, dancing to music. Everyone's doing it. I think there's two ways to read this. Either they finally got together. They're dancing together, enjoying the end of the year. They're bringing in January and she's getting her wish. And at the end, it's a very personable reflection of this. Now that they're together, all the noise, the distractions, the groove, everything else is out of the way. It's just the single vocalist telling this person, all I want is you. Very cute way to end that. The other way that I think this could be read is that they're dancing under the newspapers and staring at their phones. There's no engagement between the two of them. In fact, they're not even in a nice area. They're not at a club or at a party or maybe even just at the other person's house. They're just under newspapers. Maybe it's raining and they're trying to get home, waiting for a bus. But they're not communicating. There's no chemistry there. They're just staring at their phones instead. They're dancing because, well, everyone's dancing. Not because they want to dance with each other, they just don't want to feel left out. And so the defeat kicks in. She got what she wanted and it wasn't what she expected, which is sort of what I got out of the ending musically. I think both readings are supported in the lyrics and the music. Really depends on if you want this to be a positive ending or a Twilight Zone ending. And I think that's probably my favorite thing about it. it's very clear about what it is, but it's also vague about what it means. You really get out of it what you want to put into it. Those are my thoughts on Millie Turner's January. Let me know yours down in the comments if you enjoyed this, anything that stood out to you, maybe something I touched on that you think I should have went to more depth about. Put that stuff down there. Above that, in the description box, you can find a link to Linktree, which takes you to this menu. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. If you enjoyed this, make sure you go to Millie Turner's channel. It's linked in the description as usual with every video I check out. Like, subscribe to her channel. She has her stuff's present on Spotify, as I mentioned earlier. Go ahead and show them some love as well. Alright, until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.